yeah, you hope to see fish123 get off to a great start and pick up the win here, because honestly, if they don't, I don't know if they have that same fight back power that NIP had.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, when we talk about map picks, hilariously so, it was fish123 that lost Haven against Party Parrots, and then Party Parrots lost Split, which was their comfort map pick. So everything that we know sometimes is just thrown completely out of the mix, and who knows? Maybe NIP win this one, and fish123 win Bind, and we're on Ascent. Only the maps themselves will tell. I think one of the most important factors here as well is that last time these two teams faced, they were on opposite sides of the spectrum when it comes to attack and defense, and we're seeing that here now. NIP, they're defending, and they've got the Reyna in the mix as well onto Hip. I don't think it's something that we saw last time.
Lucker going to take out the Owl drone that flies up over top of the wall. As they start to make a presence on the A site, the wall is going to push them back just a bit, so you can see the spike is still there. The Cypher, Kryptix moving up. They've got the Breach present as well. Over on the C site, you've got Cypher anchoring. So initially they went towards A, then fell back, then they're recommitting towards A. The problem is that Sova has now pushed down in mid, which is going to be a massive problem for them potentially. A slow orb coming out as well from Lucker, but he sneaks inside that dark cover, gets caught off guard by Scream. The bigger problem is this flank coming through from Fearoth. Are they prepared for it? Here's the flank. Free kill on the first target. He's got to switch out to the shock dart. They managed to bring it down to a 3-on-2 as CREA and Rhyme both find kills on the site. Saoulcas spots the tripwire, takes it out immediately, isn't prepared for Hip, who's in position in Hell. It's down to one. It's Eccles, who was across the map, lurking over towards C, had to run back towards the A site. The round is lost. The clock has ticked too far down, and it will be NIP who pick up the first round victory.
You know, referring back to the last time these two teams met, which was obviously in the tournament, NIP were able to win that first round. It was then that fish123 were able to pull together the second round win. We'll see if that's going to be the case here, but I think they don't mind taking it a little bit slower. You know, you lose the pistol, you pretty much usually lose the second round as well, and so I think the difference maker last time was that fish123 just wanted to close out the game as fast as possible, considering they were on the attack. But this time, it's only round one, it's only round two. They can afford to just play it a little safer and save some of that economy.
And they are grouping up towards B right now. The smoke's going to come through, wall coming out. Standard B-side execute that allows them to gain access to the site. They'll get a plant secured here. Rhyme, though, at least through that smoke, going to spray away with the SMG. Eccles will be sent away for the time being. Couldn't secure the plant as of yet. He's got the cam, and he's just using it for the intel. Fearoth with the shock dart finding one. Nice kills coming in towards the tail end from Kryptix with just the classic. But 2 kills and a spike plant is all they're going to get. The round will go the way of NIP.
You know, even though my made-up statistic of 80% of the time that you win the pistol, you'll win the round to follow, it's hardly ever a flawless round. So I don't think NIP have to be too upset about losing 2 members there. This is where things start to really get a little hairy for them, as fish123 will have weaponry online. And now you'll see the... you know, they'll take it a little bit more seriously now. Not that they haven't been taking it seriously, but now this is where the strategies come through. The executes are a little bit more succinct. And in some cases, you might even see fish123 play it a little bit slower, just to buy themselves a lot of time for the execute. You know, we talked a little bit about the fakes that could come out from Eccles. Well, there's 3 sites to fake on, and so we'll see what ends up happening. Already the smokes go over towards the C site from both Omens, quite frankly. And so far, it is, of course, just Lucker holding down that C site.
Dark cover coming in on long will push Fearoth back, who's on the operator. Scream spotted by the recon dart, actually misses that shot, starts to fall back. His teammate, who is just underneath it, has to take care of it. And a shock dart will land right in his lap again, pushing him back. 1 minute and 5 seconds, roughly, on the clock. As we see fish123 continue to just play back right now over towards that A site. There is 3 players playing defense on A. You've got Cypher, Sova, and the Reyna of Hip, who's on that judge, and we've seen this position played with the judge. That shotgun can be so potent in this spot, so difficult to deal with, especially when you've got a character like Reyna who has the leer that can lead them in and keep them flashed while the peek comes out. It does look like fish123 is going to continue moving towards this A site, so we should see it execute momentarily.
You know, I think the other thing about Reyna is the dismiss. Get one frag, and then you're able to just get out of there. And it can be quite helpful. One thing that I noticed is that Fearoth has an operator. I don't know if luckeRRR has one on the opposite side. If so, that's a pretty heavy investment, but we're starting to see the funnel in. It's Hip that only finds one, does not use the dismiss to get out of there. Fearoth up above, misses the shot on the Owl drone. And now, with just barely seconds left, they'll get that spike planted. Still the 1-for-1 so far. And now the rest of the defense are starting to pile in. Fearoth up above gets, unfortunately, slowed down by the orb, and the rest of the defense hovering outside yellow, looking for an opportunity to push in. But these free fire sprays aren't really connecting on anyone, and now they'll start to push in. Paranoia about to be set up here by CREA, and little does he know he landed onto 3 members there, but they'll now start to trade back and forth. So far going over to the way of NIP, Eccles just lining up shots. And now last one standing is Fearoth. He's got the operator that he wants to likely save. They know, and he's retreated back up the stairs. Shots good onto Scream. And now maybe looking to back away. It's Eccles that, I think he repositioned there, which was kind of cheeky. But he finds that frag, and maybe, nope, can't get the op.
He repositioned with the port to get on the opposite side. It was actually a great move coming in from him to catch him off guard. So they do take the operator out of play, but they can't bring it back in. It was interesting. luckeRRR did not have an operator there, probably carrying in whatever weapon he brought from potentially a previous round, because he died in he died in the pistol, but not in that second round, I believe. So he had an SMG, so he didn't upgrade. That's why his cash was a little bit higher. He's going to have to go with the rifle and light armor so he can afford that Sage utility. That's kind of also the damning nature of playing Sage. It can be brutal. But as I say that, luckeRRR going to take out Eccles through the smoke. The dark cover on long, clearly not dark enough, as he's able to just spray through with the Phantom and take him out as he was going for that ult orb pickup.
You know, unfortunately for NIP, this is, of course, going to be the broken buy. luckeRRR, confident enough to say, I will invest all of my credits into the maximum amount of impact, and that's the Phantom, light armor, and that's the utility. A couple of shock darts. luckeRRR in a different position now, hiding behind the tall boxes, and now as they swing through with the flashpoint, ScreaMy, he's going to find luckeRRR, and that's the weapon gone. CREA, though, he's got the Vandal, and he's holding tight here, but it's Link that's already pushed up down long, and they will get that spike planted. Unfortunately for NIP, oh, fortunately for NIP, you've got Rhyme, who's constantly a nuisance, and now it's the 3v5. Fearoth maybe looking to upgrade onto that Vandal there, and that'll make things very difficult here for fish123.
Link going full spin mode as Hip was coming up behind him, somehow gets the best of him in the one-on-one. The recon dart will give away at least some positions here as they swing out. Link is waiting, and it's down to Fearoth. He's got a Vandal, the wall towards spawn. Not exactly good. Huge gap in that. And he's able to peek and punish as a result. And now it comes down to the Sage, the one that put this wall down in the first place. Multiple kills on the round for Link, but Link knows the clock is on his side, just trying to buy time, and I believe he bought enough. The spike's going to detonate here. So it will be fish123 who win another round, and Fearoth can't escape. The force buy coming in from NIP does not work out well, but the fact that it comes down to 0 players after the spike detonates means that fish123's money's in a bad spot as well, so we'll see how they decide to adjust.
Yeah, it's going to be the awkward force up. They have enough to buy at least a good weapon and some armor. I don't know how their utility is going to look like for the round, and they don't really have a whole lot to worry about considering NIP were only able to get 2,400 credits for that round, and so they can at least assume it might be the pistol. But we've seen how some of these very light buys with the pistols from NIP can be quite detrimental on specifically a player like Rhyme. Unfortunately, he's already out of the mix. An aggressive push in through the courtyard, he will fall, as well as Hip in an aggressive position down Banana, he will fall as well. And now it's just fish123 playing it a little bit safer. They have a feeling NIP might be playing a little bit more aggressive to try to make it a very expensive round, but one at a time they will just continue to fall. And it's just down to 2 now for NIP.
I want it to be known that my joking jab at Scream's tail end of his career was actually not a jab at him at all, but more a jab at Tom, because Scream, he was still the same Scream. The game just evolved around him. His style of play makes so much more sense for Valorant than the end of his career in CSGO, I feel like. And that's why you're seeing this resurgence of this god-tier player that he was back then. And you can see it in this round. Obviously, this is an eco round. So it's not like it's, oh, wow, look at Scream, he's decimating. But it was the way he picked up those kills, how fast he was on that trigger finger, and how precise his aim actually was in those shots, specifically towards Rhyme, who tried to jump into the cubby, and it was a quick 2-tap as he leapt around the corner. The player that peeks on short, it's almost instantaneous death, which feels like that's the nature of Scream in general, is that if you peek him, it's likely to be a quick death for you. You kind of have to find a corner to hide around. That's when we've seen him get bested in a one-on-one exchange, is when he's not anticipating. There's 2 corners, and he takes the 50-50 the wrong direction. Because when he takes those straight-up peeks, it seems like he comes out on top of those exchanges a lot.
The other thing to mention is that not only is his mechanical gun skill fantastic, in some cases, as a breach player, you're setting up with the flashpoint for your team or the fault line for your team, which means that you're not able to peek because there's not enough time between the use of the utility and the actual peeking itself. So not only can he play on his own, but he's a phenomenal team player and is playing breach for his team. Of course, he thinks that the agent is the best agent, but breach has a lot of characteristics that are more team-oriented as opposed to, you know, selfish-oriented, like Jet, for example, or Reyna. So that's a pretty good thing to kind of mention there, as luckeRRR will find the man that we are talking about, Scream, with a deadly op shot down banana.
You had a chance to spot out Hip, who's right around the corner. They used the wall to get the res, so Scream, who was taken out, will be brought back into play. You have luckeRRR over on long right now. He had the operator. But Hip was pushed up aggressively in that corner. They're going to instead go back towards B. There's a recon dart coming down to give away positions on the B site. Nice charge coming out through the wall. That pushes Fearoth back. Eccles with the punish. CREA trying to get into position, wasn't quite timing it right, and as a result, it's come down to a 4-on-2. The Reyna had to come all the way up from long to try and support, and Eccles is going to find a third. It's down to now just Rhyme, who's had great shots coming into this series. Off to a slow start for himself. And with a 1-on-4, it's all but unlikely he's going to win this one. You can see he's already running away. He's deciding to save. And he's just going to hang out on this C site and hope that someone doesn't find him.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. You know, having a look back at all of the different dry peaks that NIP went through, they just lost every single gun duel. That's very unfortunate. Obviously, a great start to the half. They won the pistol. They won the SMG round. But those are kind of, in some cases, I feel like gimme rounds, especially if you win the pistol. Like, often we'll see teams win the first 2, and then they'll start to just get decimated and walked all over. And we're starting to see a little bit of an example of that. There was 2 gun rounds that have now occurred, or, you know, 2.5, and NIP have not been able to really make a huge dent. Only 1 round really was close enough, and even still, the attack were able to come out on top. So the next gun round, of course, going to come in the one that follows. fish123 are going to have a huge lead by the time we get there. And it's going to be very difficult for NIP to really start to think and strategize how they want to play the defense to stop fish123's ability to outduel.
Concern right now with the way the spike is down all the way back towards garage. We've seen a couple of rounds during this tournament where teams have gained access to a site and then they had to go back and grab the spike and the round fell apart. Now, Eccles is there to pick it up, but he's isolated right now. The rest of the team is already up on long A. Already moving towards the site where there is basically no defense. NIP is grouping up across the map towards the C site. So this A site is free and clear. Eccles has plenty of time to get over. So that point is moot. It doesn't make a difference. fish123, they're going to use that Al drone to lead in, and then they're just going to waltz onto the site when they realize it's empty. So the Al drone goes out first, looking for all positions, can't quite find them. The paranoia blinds the drone for just a moment, but now they're realizing, okay, no one's here. So the spike will be planted, and NIP has to figure out what they want to do now that it's down.
Yeah, really no need to save the pistols, so they'll start to funnel back. Unfortunate for them. Scream in a great angle to look for anyone rotating from the other way around, while the rest of NIP
They found my wire.
group up towards the defender spawn. So far, kind of just taking their time. I wonder if they're looking for exits, but if fish123 pushed from long, there's no way that they're going to just go to the defender spawn after that. They're going to go to the way that they feel safe, and ScreaMy has already cleared it out. Link may be looking for any of those last minute diffuses, but NIP, they won't even contest. They'll just stay quite far back, and CREA will take a Marshall into the next round. Like, I don't even know if he really wants that, or if he really is going to use that. He might just drop that and pick up something new, or decide to keep it. That's fine too. Have a Marshall, have an operator, have two operators. This might be a good round for NIP if they're able to make these sniper rifles work.
Fearoth carrying that operator, as is luckeRRR. We've seen the double op look come in from NIP at times. We saw it actually earlier in this game where it was Fearoth with the op, but it wasn't luckeRRR with it, so it wasn't a double op look. But what I'm saying is that tertiary op, that secondary op, because we talk about luckeRRR when we talk about NIP and how good his operator play can be. But Fearoth, perfectly serviceable as an operator as well. So we've got Fearoth on it and we've got luckeRRR on it, so we will see that double op look. Fish123 have managed to pile up a fair helping of rounds. And again, it's important to remind ourselves that NIP and Fish123 already played this map, and in that map earlier in this event, Fish123 crushed NIP. There's a great peek coming out early, luckeRRR taking Scream out of the scenario. And the Cyber Cage does not go down in time to save him. Hip is right around the corner. Yet again, we've seen this play, but I love the reposition from luckeRRR. Now moving into this spot, the recon dart's going to give away the position of Hip. luckeRRR wants to throw a slow orb down so he can change positions. Nice dark cover coming out as well from the Omen in case they decided to act off that push, but it's not going to be the case. Yikes. The Neural Theft gets popped. Eccles was almost spotted out by the Cypher, and now Eccles is able to lurk on this C site, and they don't anticipate this play coming through. So the Cypher likely to get caught off guard, and that's exactly what happens. Ryan caught looking the opposite direction, watching for the garage push as they started to rotate over towards A to try to support the operator of luckeRRR. So the whole round falls apart off that play because he's able to sneak around that corner. Now, Rez does come in onto Hip, and it will make things a 4-on-4, but the spike's gone down, and look at this. Saoulcas in position through the box. Down goes that op. So no damage dealt by Fearoth.
Even worse was that Fearoth shot the recon bolt and it just hit the window. He wasn't even able to get the information onto Saoulcas, so he had no idea that he was even in there. Just really rough play I'm seeing coming out from NIP. Really small little mistakes. You know, luckeRRR, of course, great positioning, moving around, but some of these looks, they're just not finding the picks that they need, and I'm starting to wonder what is going on with NIP today. Are they going to wake up in this map, or are they going to wake up in the map that follows? Because so far, it just seems like Fish123 are, you know, business as usual for them.
Well, they'll save the op, or at least they'll try. Link is on the hunt looking for him, doesn't get there in time. This is very reminiscent of the last Haven match between these two teams, with Fish123 now winning 6 in a row. Sure, they lost the pistol. They lost the second round as well. Kind of expected. But since then, NIP has tried a lot to pick up round wins. They've gotten a little bit desperate even, bringing out that double op look. It doesn't seem to be helping them at all. Fearoth is the only one that's been putting in some work, and it's still not great, 7 and 5. So right now it is just Fish123 who's got NIP on the back foot. And here's the issue too. NIP has constantly been stuck in a save scenario. They've constantly had to surrender the round. So the site's been lost, and then NIP is basically giving up because they can't go for it. Hip uses the dismiss after getting that aggressive kill onto Eccles, so that's a great start on the round. We talked about that earlier, using that dismiss to try and find some early round action. Great ult coming out. The Rolling Thunder going to give them access towards C short. There is a one-way down from the Cypher. CREA's on site with the op back towards the stairs. The Recon Dart giving away some positions, but they still haven't moved up. Interestingly enough, they've only got one all the way at the top side of Garage. The rest, though, falling back. And if they were to go towards A, that'd be the right play, but it looks like they're going to be repositioning towards C, which could be a bit of a problem.
Now, of course, Scream has used all of his utility, and so for Fish123, they'll have to rely on... wow, they don't have Eccles either, so they don't really have a lot of utility that they can push in, so expect to see a lot of dry peaks, a lot of dry pushes forward, and they're about to face a world of hurt. CREA finds one. That operator shot is good, but it's the Hunter's Fury that is now going to put CREA in a very difficult position. Ryan will be the one to follow. Great read from the Hunter's Fury to try to catch CREA porting around, and now it's the second one that comes through. Time is starting to tick down. They got to push in, and it's all down to Scream. Hip finds 1, 2, and 3 for the round, using that Empress as well, nonetheless. They just had no utility from the side of fish123. They were like, we just got to force through C long, and it wasn't going to work out.
It's because they used it all to try to get access to Garage, and then they got into Garage, and they're like, well, this sucks. Let's leave Garage. If they had gone back to A with an audible call,
oh yeah,
it would have been better for them. But that's what we know, not what they know. Their anticipation is, okay, if we fall out of Garage and they see that we're not here, they'll rotate to A. That's a decent call. It just isn't what ends up happening. So fish123 try to bait out the rotate by falling back and recommitting on C long. It doesn't work. So what's the response? They're going to go back towards A. They've had pretty decent success towards this A site. They've been able to get through a couple of times, despite the fact that there has been op players on the site, despite the fact that they've also played aggressively with the Reyna, putting Hip all the way up on long, but it hasn't really worked out so well for him. Actually, Hip until that round, having a pretty rough game in general, not really up to snuff with some of his previous performances. We talked about it yesterday. His play with the Rays, great. But he hasn't been as good since that game when he played as the Rays. He's gone to the Reyna, and it just doesn't seem like it's clicking. It doesn't seem like it's working. We'll see if he's going to be able to make it work here, as he's got a tall task with all of the players from fish123 grouping up towards the A site. There's a third player coming over to offer up some support as well. That's luckeRRR, the Sage. So they'll keep moving forwards, but they're going to be coming up mostly towards long. Here comes the push onto the site.
Yeah, luckeRRR's got the operator, but there's a lot of utility being used here. If luckeRRR just shoots, he'll find one, but forget luckeRRR, you've got Rhyme that finds 3 as they push in from Banana. Fearoth as well, cleaning up that last and final frag. Honestly, just a great hold from NIP. fish123, they use a lot of utility to get onto the site, but unfortunately that utility just didn't work. Maybe it was like a poorly timed push, or the slow orb from luckeRRR stopped the support from the sewers, and so they could focus on the members pushing in from Banana. And at the end of the day, that works out, right? You find 3, and then you switch targets over to Scream, but you already have luckeRRR who's looking in for that push forward. So just a great setup, and they had a lot of support, like you said, luckeRRR rotating over early. Just good stuff coming out from NIP, and already an early pick onto Eccles. Omen on Omen action, and Fearoth as well. Just a great start to the round for NIP.
This is what I like to see from them too, because in the rounds they've gotten aggressive and kind of gotten in their faces, that's the rounds they've been able to find an early advantage. Link, oh, the timing! The shot through the wall is not exactly where it needs to be. The Aldron's going to go in, and Link's going to fall back as a result. Could almost see the barrel around that wall, couldn't quite spot it. Scream, moving in. Sees one up in heaven. Spray gets a little erratic as he's trying to wallbang there, but it'll be CREA and Fearoth over towards Garage. Again, taking the fight to fish123 instead of allowing fish123 to bring the fight to them. We saw it when we saw that aggressive play from Hip in mid as well, getting around into Cubby, killing one and then dismissing away. That's the rounds that NIP has been able to convert off of, and I would like to see them do that more. Kind of leverage their aim to just out-duel the side of fish123.
All down to Scream. It's luckeRRR that'll put the nail in the coffin. For NIP, they can at least bring this to 6-6. On the opposite side, they still have the economy to buy. They'll go Phantoms across the board. It makes a whole lot of sense. Scream, unfortunately, cannot afford some armor, so he'll be the only one that doesn't have Jordans on the first day of school. And so, looking at how fish123 deal with this last and final round, luckeRRR with a very interesting boost. Usually you see it on the box itself. luckeRRR trying to find a very different angle, as the peak is a little bit deeper into the swing on to see what is down C long. Of course, on the opposite side, it is a Link who is flirting around with the idea, but potentially decides to pull back. The rest of his team interested in pushing towards the Garage. Once again, we saw it didn't work out because they were hesitant on the push forward. And of course, like you said, they tried to call the read of like, okay, they'll push back to A. Well, let's see if that's going to be the same thing here. There are 4 members from NIP hovering around this area, and Fearoth enters the round with an Op and an Odin.
I like that. Spamming away with the Odin, pulling them in closer as he goes for the reload, swaps out to the operator. luckeRRR with a nice shot, but has to fall off the boxes as the paranoia comes through. CREA around the corner. Port to make him a little bit more successful, and he survives somehow as it comes down to Kryptix, who will eventually end the reign of CREA, but there's so much in front of him. 3 players still remain. There's the ult being popped as well. Taken out by the final pulse of Hunter's Fury. It will be a 6-6 score at halftime as NIP came back to life towards the tail end to make this a much closer game than it was looking like it was going to be.
Yeah, and you know, for NIP, that's important because hypothetically speaking, if they win this round, if they win this map, then they have increased chances to win the map that they are most comfortable on, which is Bind. And we saw if they, you know, took G2 to a really dark place on that map, they can do the same to fish123. Of course, on the opposite side, though, we haven't seen a lot of Bind out of fish123. At least not enough in comparison to a map like Split, a map like Haven. And so we'll see how that pans out when we get there. Of course, the map at hand, we are switching off to the second half. And this is where things might start to get a little bit scary. Fish123 are quite known for their aggression, of course, and now they're on the attack. This is where, you know, the attackers have to be aggressive. So look for the fakes, of course, coming out from Eccles, but similar to what the desk said before they passed it off to us is if Eccles is down, there's nothing to fake. There's nothing to really worry about. And speaking of nothing to worry about, there's a tactical pause, which I can only wonder which team decided to go for it to really think about what they are going to do next.
I mean, with a tie score, who's the one calling it? Obviously, we saw the tail end comeback there by NIP to make it a close half. So it's possible they called it because they want to keep things going. It's also possible that fish123 called it so they can stop it. I like the faces we're making right now with the knives. I don't know if you're watching this. The 2 stabs and the smiley face coming out. They're having a good time right now as Kryptix is going to come in with that straight smile face. But yeah, I mean, both sides probably not thrilled with the way that first half went. Uh-oh. Can he connect before the eyes disappear? That looks like my smile.
Oh no, he's just gonna have to keep up.
There he goes, a smirk. But like, if I'm NIP, I'm not thrilled with the way we lost so many rounds in a row. Fish123.
Yeah.
Like obviously, I'm happy that we brought it back, made it 6-6. Like that's great. But I'm looking at those early rounds, going, okay, like what did we do wrong? And we can't allow that to happen in the second half. We can't give them a run of that many rounds in a row. And if I'm fish123, I'm like, guys, we were destroying them. What happened? Like, why all of a sudden did we allow them back into this game? We were doing so good for so long.
Oh, my apologies. For some reason, I thought fish123 were attacking. No, they're on defense. Okay, so that changes things quite a bit. And for
if
the
they got to play attack twice, that would be kind of wild.
Yeah, that would be kind of wild. That would be 24 rounds of attack. Yeah. I have a feeling that fish123 would like that. Of course, Haven, the only map that the verdict is out that it feels a little bit more attacker-sided, or at least it can. But it is still playstyle oriented. The team that is attacking needs to provide the firepower and the strategy. And already we're seeing that firepower start to come through the courtyard. It's a quick trade of kills going over to the favor of fish123, but Rhyme makes it even. Now it is the 3-on-3 wall going up on B, which means NIP are limited on options. Kryptix going to be the first line of defense as they start to push in and trying to find those dinks. They're going to connect, but not going to finish anyone off. Spike now going to be going down, and here comes the post-plant scenario for NIP.
Saoulcas wants to come up long, but there's a tripwire in front of him, has to break it, goes for the peek towards backside. Oh, catches him off guard. CREA wasn't prepared. Link wants to come through that dark cover. There's targets on the other side. Sort of baits out his teammate just a bit. It's up to Saoulcas. He knows there's one right around the corner. Back behind that box, he has to take this peek. He has to take this fight as his other opponent went back towards spawn. And it's Rhyme who finds 3 in the round for NIP. Yet again, NIP win the pistol. Fish123 having limited success there in the series thus far. Losing both on Haven. We'll like to see them turn that around on that second map. They weren't able to win the second round in the first half either. They lost the pistol, lost the second round, but it was after that that they picked up multiple rounds in a row. So even if they lose this round, you know, expect to see big things from Fish123 in the first buy round. Also, getting told that it was a tactical P not a tactical pause. Yeah, they had to take a halftime break. Too much agua.
Listen, you can never drink too much water. That should be a friendly reminder.
That's actually not true.
What do you mean?
You can drink too much water.
Okay, but you still need to drink a lot. Yes, you have to drink a lot. You have to drink a lot. Okay.
Yeah, desalination, it takes a while.
Yeah. The other thing that is quite a lot is how many attacker-sided players are pushing up towards A here. They'll find a quick frag, but it's a trade with the Bucky. Eccles in the position now to flank them from behind, but I think they're slightly aware of this. The Owl Drone makes it a huge mistake. Eccles with the judge, and he's going to be the executioner too. 2 frags for him, down to the 2v2. And it's luckeRRR alongside CREA. Scream with the Marshal, and he could definitely make it hurt. Of course, it is the forced buy for fish123, and the flash now as Scream hops onto the site, takes a little bit of damage jumping through, but maybe that damage wasn't worth taking. Of course, he still has armor available. They are playing towards the sewers, but still need to push in. The flash is going to give them some time, and here comes the defuse, but there's 2 of them, so they can just tag team this. Still not up to half, though. The judge not going to connect. Scream with the trade. Scream with 2, and the force up goes for fish123.
So, we talked about it. They lost the pistol in the first half. They lost the second round, but they didn't force up in that second round in the first half. They did here, and it works out quite nicely. The shotguns got things going. Great utility use from Scream, dive bombing out of heaven, taking 20 damage to his HP, but it didn't matter in the end. Goes for the flash to push them back just a bit. Second flash to push them back further. Tremor goes down, and then they go for the swing. It didn't work out so well with the shotgun, but the frenzy of all things is what provides success for fish123. So NIP, potential that their round run here in the second half cut short. But of course, NIP, what do? They're gonna force. We've seen this before in games that go back and forth with force buys. It takes a while. Someone has to win 2 in a row to result in their opponent not forcing up.
Well, that actually will go quite well for NIP as Scream will find a quick trade, but it's Rhyme that lands the Sheriff shot. Fearoth as well with the Sheriff shot. Somehow NIP, they are able to do a lot with the little CREA there with the Marshal, and it's just down to 2. But Kryptix and Saoulcas will even those odds once again, and it's down to luckeRRR, and unfortunately for Saoulcas, he is trying to owl drone through the site. Wall goes up. I like this play from luckeRRR. All he needs to do now, hightail it over towards A, plant likely towards long, and then just bide his time. He can even get a res if he wants, but I think it's too far of a distance to get to one of his allies.
So he breaks through the wall and starts coming over from that B site. And he should have the Phantom as well, as that was what was on Scream's body. He should have picked it up. So now, we've got this one-on-one, and he's on the site. luckeRRR is just playing in this corner masterfully. Does he peek this? He's coming towards long. Looks like he's going to clear it. No, he doesn't swing wide enough. luckeRRR survives with just 4 HP. Doesn't decide to pick up whatever weapon was brought into play there, but the Cypher peeks the wrong direction. Doesn't hard clear the corner. Soft clears it, and you can see the double take. As he comes around the corner, he soft clears, peeks back, and he goes, wait, I saw something too late. Opportunity gone. Big round coming in from NIP. Expect another force up here from fish123.
I'm so disappointed. There are so many things wrong from both sides. For some reason, luckeRRR had so much time to use the heal, and it was bugging me that he was sitting on 56 HP. He got brought down to 4 there from the look back from Kryptix. Imagine that. There was still an opportunity to kill luckeRRR, and he managed to survive with 4 HP. If he healed, he wouldn't have been that close, but still, what a round there from NIP.
So the heal makes an audible clue, so you can hear the heal going off, and you can actually see the glow as well around corners quicker than you can see a body. So definitely understand not going for the heal. You don't want to go for the heal. You also don't want to get caught pulling out the heal, and then he peeks you. So it's like those 1v1s where somebody's got in CS would have like a flash and a smoke, and you're like, why didn't he pull out the nades? It's because the second he tries to pull it out, he's afraid he's going to get peeked. It also gives away his position. So it's an understandable play not to go for that heal, because you don't want to give up that amount of intel to your opponent.
Well, I mean, it's quite telling that he's going to A. As he was running to A, he might as well heal.
Right.
Like there was a lot of there was a lot of opportunities, I'm saying, for the heal to come through. Not when he's in the corner for sure, but Regardless, NIP win the round. It'll give them the round lead. And now looking forward, it is already fish123 that are, I believe, on the 4-up. Saoulcas with the Bucky here tells us a little bit of information, but it's just down to 2 now as the round has already started to fall apart bit by bit. There's a little bit of an engagement near the garden, but of course NIP were able to deal with it, and now that spike will get planted on that B site, and the last 2 remaining members, Saoulcas and Kryptix, have got to decide what they want to do.
Saoulcas with the Bucky, hoping to just rip a gun away from somebody if possible, but unlikely to happen. NIP likely to exit through mid and just join their team. Got the Cypher towards long C. More likely to spot somebody out. Maybe Kryptix will be able to pick somebody off. Saoulcas wants to go in and just catch somebody off guard on the retreat, potentially. He's moving closer, but not going to happen. So the Bucky will be potentially his weapon moving into the next round. Kryptix on the Marshall, and everyone goes towards long A. Solid round coming out from NIP. All players survive. We do see Saoulcas upgrade to a Spectre in the end, so an SMG brought into the next round. But NIP currently 2 rounds up over fish123. They already look stronger than they did the last time these 2 teams met on Haven. They were only able to get 5 rounds. Now they got 9. And not only that, they're in the lead. We talked about it coming into this. This should have been fish123's map, but it's looking like NIP might be able to take it.
It's close. And for the side of fish123, they just need to be putting their best foot forward. Maybe that another tactical pause if they have one, if it's available. We still don't know what team brought that tactical pause, and considering how many smiles fish123 were making on the wall, you have to assume it was just, of course, it was NIP who called it for the water break. So fish123 have one available if they want to regroup, rethink. But looking at the actual round at hand, NIP preparing for a push towards C, or at least sending out a couple of feelers, having 3 strong look down long, and ScreaMy out about to peek with the Marshall there. Those pre-fire shots, they won't tag him, and still the defense spread out, waiting for the commitment from NIP.
Scream back sight with the Marshall. First shot goes through, has to move out as the recon dart lands in sight. You've got the port coming out as well from CREA, who's now on top of the boxes in the backside of sight. Actually ends up dropping off and going back behind them. Sight's been lost. NIP has full control. Hip is currently in garage. There's a tripwire right in front of him, so he isn't pushing up any further. He's just holding the line right now, waiting for them to potentially jump out of window, and then he'll go for that swing. luckeRRR on top of his wall. You can see a lot of bodies built up right now. There's the swing out from Hip as Link jumps out of the garage window. Gonna keep spraying. Hip's gonna find 2 more. They're all building up in the window right now. They've been forced into that territory. Hip's gonna find the ace. Multiple kills coming through the wall as well. Hip may have been quiet in the first half, but he's picking up his performance in the second.
Yeah, they when you walk in one at a time in a straight file line, it is very easy for Hip to just left click. Left click and just get all the frags that he needs. It was pretty good angle from him. I thought he was going to get at least away with 1, with 2, but I'm not really sure what fish123 were thinking there, all going in at the same time, or at least following each other to their demise. But it is, of course, going to be the buy round for them this time around, so they will at least be able to compete against N1 NIP, and already an op shot from Eccles down Banana will give the man advantage over towards the defense. And so NIP, they can still push forward, they can still try to find an opportunity on this A site, which is what they're looking for. But it's still going to be a struggle, a difficult one.
You will not kill my allies.
There's the res coming out to bring Ryan back into play. The ult being popped here. The Hunter's Fury. Does he find that third pulse? No. Only hits on the second, not able to convert on the third. So damage dealt, but no elimination coming out from the ult. Still 3 ults for both sides. Omen, Port, Res, and the Rolling Thunder for fish123. Omen, Port, Neural Theft, and of course, the Empress for NIP. And that ult can be so incredibly annoying when it comes time for a push onto a site or even in a post plan. It does look like they're going to be moving towards mid currently. They've got 2 players on that B site, but the spike is still sticking back towards long, so they're actually going to go for an A split, which means Scream has to come up big, and unfortunately he only gets one. That means they're going to have to pull one of these A-site defenders off, and he's stuck in a tough spot. Eccles, who's in the corner currently on long, has to be careful. There's the ult coming out from the Sova. The wall comes in as well. They have to go for the spike plant. There's 10 seconds left on the clock. Saoulcas can't get around the corner in time to stop it, but they know where Fearoth is at because of the ult that gets popped. There's the Empress coming through from the Reyna. So now it's a 2-on-4, and you have to worry about that fast fire rate coming out from the Reyna, but it's luckeRRR who actually comes up with the first one. Now it's all on Hip, the Reyna, who popped that ult. How does he initiate? First kill gonna go his way. Dismiss inside the smoke and gonna continue to hide back in it. There's the res coming out. A bait res, spray through, has to switch to the pistol. Has time to go for the reload, but no! He's gonna dismiss his way away. This is what we're talking about. That ult can be so difficult to deal with. He's at full HP right now, but he's sticking the spike. Saoulcas in the sight will not win the fight. Hip has found 4. Nip hip hooray as NIP finds 11 rounds in the first map.
What you hear?
Listen, that is how you start a series. Hip, he had a rough start in the first half. He was struggling to put things together. They were, you know, backs against the wall. Fish123, time and time again, Hip was playing towards that A side on the defense, and he just could not make anything work. But now he's starting to come alive. A beautiful play from him, and it's really showing us the power of Reyna. Of course, a lot of people are saying not really the best agent, difficult to play, sometimes can be selfish, but look at that. In a scenario like that, you want a Reyna popping the Empress and being in a position to push in. But speaking of push in, here comes NIP in. Rolling Thunder will stop them from pushing forward. Scream now going to commit to holding onto this A site, now starting to double back, as the rest of NIP will pull off as well. Saoulcas has got the judge, trying to find an early pick, and quite honestly, that'll give them a lot of the information that they don't want to go towards A. They don't want to be anywhere near the shotguns, but a lot of commitment of resources from Fish123. At one point, there were 4 members around A, and that might open up the C site where the spike is already headed towards.
Camera taken out.
Big round coming in, last round from Hip. We talked about it. His first half performance left a lot to be desired. With rare occasion, we didn't even really say his name unless he was dying. It felt like he was basically non-existent at times in that first half. A few opening kills as the Reyna had 1 or 2 good rounds. But now he's starting to come alive. We've seen him play so well at times. Here comes the push onto the C site, and it will be CREA who ports past the tripwire and the cyber cage, catching Kryptix off guard. He goes inside the smoke, goes for another port. Surprise! He's behind you, getting past enemy lines, and as a result, Fearoth's Saoulcas not wanting to go for this one. He's all the way back over by that A site. It's going to be a 12th round for NIP as they easily creep onto that C site, and the defense does absolutely nothing.
You know, Tom talked about this a little bit, that just because Fish123 were able to win the first Haven map when they last met does not mean that Fish123 are going to win the Haven map this time. It's a lot about who's feeling it today. Hip's definitely feeling it today. The play styles that are being put forward, and while Fish123 had a great start when they were on the attack, it was NIP that warmed up a little bit, figured things out, and now on their attacker side, they are really getting things in motion. It's match point on Fish123's map pick, and so NIP could be going over to bind their comfort pick with a 1 map advantage, and that's huge. Already, round is not starting to go well for Fish123. luckeRRR will find 1, and it's Scream, and they don't have a res to bring him back. This could be very scary for Fish123.
This was a map that Fish123 should be winning because they played each other already and they crushed them. It wasn't even close. What happened? Because all of a sudden, Fish123 is struggling on the map. It's not clicking. Things aren't making sense. And that is problematic as we move deeper into the series.
Deploying drone.
A little bit concerned right now for Fish123 because this was supposed to be a 3-map series. We were going to go all 3 maps. That was how we kind of anticipated this series going. Now I'm like, okay, maybe it's a 2-map series, or maybe it's going to be like the Party Parrots game yesterday. Both teams take maps they're not supposed to win, and they still go to that 3rd map regardless. Hip, continuing where he left off, finding 2 more. as he fights for his point on the scoreboard. Link with some great shooting to pick off CREA over top of the big box, but it's a 4-on-2 even with that kill coming through, so they've lost the site control. Kryptix is there at least to get one. Hold on a second. Fish123 aren't quite out of this round just yet, but the clock is going to be a problem. They've taken a decent bit of time to get onto that site. They've still got the slow orb. Lear coming out from the window. They have a hard time taking it out from distance. A follow-up Lear. There's the peak coming through. 1 HP for the diffuser, but it's enough as Link hits the 4K, and they will get the spike diffusal. It will be an 8th round for Fish123.
All right.
Okay. That started off real rough for Fish123. Scream was taken out of commission. There were some early picks towards the sewers that CREA was able to find, I believe. And it was not looking good. But Fish123, you have Kryptix, you have Link. And when it's their time to shine, boy, will they shine. So Fish123, they're still in it. But I don't really think the economy is in the greatest place for them. We are seeing not the greatest weapons, but the Vandal, of course, for Scream. But I did see a Bulldog onto Saoulcas and Link now. So see if that plays a factor. Link has 1 point away from Resurrection, which can be quite useful, but so does luckeRRR. Now NIP going to have to deal with Saoulcas if they decide to push towards A. B and C relatively undefended, but some quick rotates could come from Eccles and Scream. So nothing really to worry about there. So far, they're sending out feelers. I think NIP want to play it a little safe. They want to be the ones to come out on top here. And so feeling out their opposition before they decide to push in is the name of the game for them to kick us off in this round.
Firing range currently on the C side as bullets just pepper down towards long. Link and Kryptix both come up with some. It'll fall down to the Reyna, who's now picking up the operator. Hips had a great second half thus far. Can he make it work with an operator as well? Would like to see. You've got Rhyme moving up right to his right. That's the Cypher. As the tremor comes through, that'll push him back into the cubby, and a couple of missed shots from Hip, making it hard for them to fight their way out of this one. They've also got a flank coming through. They're going to have to watch out for Eccles, who's on the back end of the play as the Omen. Rhyme now moving closer and closer towards C long, towards the site, has to take out the tripwire, swings towards Link, and Scream will come up with the last kill on the round. Good defense coming out from Fish123, only losing one player in Kryptix, and also able to scoop up any possible weaponry that might want to bring into the next round, including that op.
Yeah, not looking so good right now for NIP, as while they are sitting in a comfortable spot where Fish123 need to collect 3 rounds before we take it to overtime. NIP's economy is starting to fall 1 round at a time, and so after this one, I think it may be a pistol for them, and then who knows, we might see Fish123 catch up and bring us to a overtime scenario. Early frag from Eccles will find Fearoth. That's not going to be a good look, and that was through the garage too. Spike, of course, not affected, but 1 down for NIP might mean they get the Resurrection out of play, and that'll be Fish123 that can have that Resurrection saved in their back pocket when things really do get scary.
Rez coming through to bring Fearoth back into play. Puts us back on a 5-on-5. The ult is also available for the likes of Fish123, should one of their players go down in the early exchanges. Aldrone going in first, looking for that intel. Will be able to spot the Sage on the backside of Garage. He'll be moving out of position, but it's actually the B site being lost. Now, here's a problem. CREA wanted to use that port to get in the backside of site. He can't because he's got the spike. So he can't go further up like he would love to do. You know he wants to. The orb going down the dark cover, providing an interesting one-way. But the spike will be secured. There's one on the back end of sight. It's a Cypher. And it will be a 5-on-4 as they lose the Sova. The ult being popped by Hip. We've seen how strong it can be in the past. The Empress. Will it make a difference? It's actually going to be Scream who takes out Rhyme, as Rhyme tried to get outside the radius of that detonation, but couldn't quite do it. CREA gonna go for a port, and yet again CREA gets behind enemy lines. CREA's found 4, bringing it down to just 1. It's all up to Scream in the 1-on-2. He has to contend against Hip, who's got the Empress ult. Sticks the spike. Not gonna be their round. NIP take map number 1, 13-9.